What type of phobia do you have? Fuck a lot. Emetophobia, agoraphobia, blood being drawn, birds, insects crawling in my ears up my nose, large crowds, misophonia, the dark, scopophobia eye contact, claustrophobia being trapped. I also have a thing about wet feet and hands, but I think that's more of a sensory thing. Sandwiched in with the emetophobia, I also have a great fear of undercooked food, eating things that I didn't cook or didn't watch someone cook, eating at new restaurants or places no one I know has been to, and being around people who are ill, even with a simple cold. I have a fear of bleeding out. Obviously there's reasonable fear there, but my fear gets to the point where I struggle not to faint during a simple blood test. It's a learned fear. My fear exists because of the first time I donated blood I hadn't eaten. It was my mistake. My blood sugar tanked, and I almost passed out. I was fine after about a half hour. Never had any hard feelings, I wasn't scared in the moment, but ever since then I struggle to hear even descriptions of people bleeding out or being at threat of bleeding out. Pomponophobia. Fear of buttons. Shirt buttons, clothes buttons, not like a button that you press. It was more severe to me as a kid, but as an adult. Now I don't wear any shirts with buttons unless I have to. And when I have to, I'm okay. But when my mother dressed me up for church, I was always internally super uncomfortable. I didn't want to touch the buttons or have them near my face or mouth. I was little, so I'd be head level to an adult's chest, and thus their buttons on their shirt. Since one episode in a pizza place when I started feeling very overwhelmed and dizzy after waiting more than 1 hour for the pizza to come, I since I've developed a phobia that happens sporadically, but I can always feel around the corner. Basically I feel dizzy like I'm about to faint and can't eat when the food arrives at my table. I totally lose my appetite and I feel the need to just go outside to breathe and recover. I think it's classified as agoraphobia even if it's more specific. Not sure if Terry's a name for it, but I have a phobia of elevators. If there was a building WIH, let's say 15 floors, and walking the stairs, I don't care how many floors there is no way I'm taking the elevator. In a worst case scenario, I think I could ride a glass elevator where the elevator in the shaft is mostly made out of glass. Then I feel kinda safe, and it feels open. But there is no amount of money you can pay me to go into that metal box that closes when you enter in. When eating fish, I always surgically comb the entire fish for the smallest bones. I saw a movie in elementary school about a guy who was always telling jokes. One day he choked on a fish bone and died. His friends didn't help him because they thought he was joking. It was about teaching kids morale and not to lie or fool around when at the dining table. Yes, I am not in my 20s anymore anyway. That movie left a trauma as it seems. Also, thalassophobia. That shit is serious. I think I kind of have whatever the insect phobia is, but a weird version. Like, in real life I don't care. I've always been the one to move the spider or the cockroach or whatever, and I don't lose my mind if some bug lands on me. It's just videos, documentaries and stuff, when they focus on insects I can't do it. I'd give it the zoom in or something, but nope, I always have to skip those parts of David Attenborough's shows. I have the fear of one day having a kid and raising and loving it after sacrificing years of my life and finding out it's not mine. I know too many people it's happened to, and most women get offended if you dare even ask for a paternity test. Also, I believe I'd be stuck with child support even if it's not mine in my state. Just the thought of being forced to pay child support for the child of a fraud is horrifying. Thalassophobia. I love swimming. I love being in the water. But the thought of not knowing what's beneath me is terrifying. I also love whales, orcas, they are so majestic and intelligent. But I always think about a whale swallowing me, although I know they don't eat humans, lol. They are just so massive. I've never had nightmares my whole life, but if I did have a bad dream it was usually a shark trying to get me. Embarrassed smiley face. I have a fear of going into a space that keeps narrowing until I get trapped. It's not really claustrophobia, as I don't mind small spaces, just the thought of spaces that narrow. My son has an interesting one, cassidostrophobia, where he is scared of falling upwards into the starry sky at night. He is better about it now than when he was younger, but he still can't watch a meteor shower in a really dark place. Zooxia, larger groups of people. Developed after taking finasteride and then went out of control after a bad trip on weed. Not sure what that triggered. But ever since I have extreme negative thoughts about myself that are running in the background of my head. I can hear them sometimes shortly before falling asleep. It's basically a playlist of all the criticism I received from others during my life. I really fucking hate it when I get judged for just being somewhere without saying anything, lol. I have zero fear of awkward interactions or situations. I find them funny, but I want to be perceived as a net positive wherever I go. I guess I have a phobia of people viewing me as bad or weird. Which is really just an ego phobia beastie. Nobody really gives a fuck, they just be wanting a reaction half the time. Hydrophobia caused by trauma, trypophobia, whatever the fear of heights is, or arachnophobia, general bug phobia. I've gotten a lot better at dealing with all but the hydrophobia over the years. My hydrophobia has actually gotten worse with age, which personally I attribute to having less and less exposure to swimming over the years. I'm not very confident in my swimming skills anymore. Trypophobia mainly, and one I can't find the name of, but it's a sort of random paranoia only brought on when I'm in a location with many paths in and out. I feel like I have to keep checking every opening for a potential threat. Oh, also a lot of weird anxiety around being late to things, even if they have an arbitrary set time or an open window of time for arrival and departure. Scared and thinking too loud. Sometimes my thoughts can be surging heavy and they get super loud. I end up frightening myself because it literally feels like I'm talking out loud without realizing it. It can be like 3 AM and I jump up like fuck, am I just rambling on and waking people up? Or it'll be in a voice call and I feel like I'm talking over people but I'm not. Megalophobia. Large buildings, or ships, etc. just make me feel really uncomfortable. I also really don't like big open spaces, so those videos zooming out from Earth and showing how big the universe is make me really nauseous, and just make me feel uncomfortable. I think my megalophobia has also led to thalassophobia a little bit. I unfortunately have a lot. Lice which turned into bug pest infestations, people touching me, also just certain bugs in general, needles, veins, dentists, deep water, and tornadoes, which encompasses hurricanes. I've gotten a lot better on some of them, but two phobias fucking suck. They're not on the same level as just fear. I'd give you'd call it thalassophobia, but I'm afraid of being in water where I can't see my feet. Deep clear water doesn't faze me, but I get weirded out by the abyss. I also have a thing about frogs and chickens. I had a traumatizing experience with chickens as a kid, and frogs are just unnatural fish. Not like I can't go to the aquarium or anything, but I do not like swimming in natural bodies of water because I don't want them to touch me at all. I also have a really weird fear that a small fish is going to swim up my urethra. Watched way too much River Monsters as a kid. Lamau, I'd quit it's called, but my biggest fear is pissing myself. Lamau, like if I need to piss desperately and I'm out in public in a new place and cannot locate a toilet, I start hyperventilating. It gets so unreasonable but made me almost agoraphobic when my anxiety was at its worst. Cockroaches. Don't know if there's a name for it. But every time I see one, my body just tenses up and I feel a weird sensation in my stomach. They really upset me. I hate them. And once I had one that climbed or flew to my hand. I was scarred for a while after that. Acrophobia for me. I can handle being up about 5-6 feet off the ground. It'll make me a tad anxious, but I can control it. It becomes an issue after 7 feet, then whenever I look down I get immediately dizzy, shortness of breath, extremely anxious, and start panicking. I am afraid of starfish. They're so gross, wiggly, and ripping one in half will make 2 starfish? I took marine biology in 11th grade and we had a unit on echinoderm starfish, and it just made my phobia worse because now I know more about how gross they are. In my early 20s I started getting what feels like heart palpitations but no doctor could ever detect. Now I am in constant fear of my heart just randomly stopping, and it most frequently occurs when I am very calm. So yeah, I live on edge now. My sister was super afraid of Jello, only when a move jiggled though. She'd run scream when she was younger, but when she got older it became more of a cringe thing. Never understood it, but I never gave her crap for it either. Embarrassed smiley face. Trypophobia. Lately on my FIP, those videos of people with tons of seashells, I didn't get a close look attached to their arms or legs, keep popping up and it makes me physically sick. It legit ruins my mood. Smiley face. Trypophobia, or the fear of skin rashes, holes and clusters. Sclerosophobia, fear of worms but specifically maggots because I'm okay with earthworms. Maggots on the other hand. Fuck, I can't even say the word out loud. Fear of the dark. Sharks very irrationally, like even in my room I'll get scared they're under my bed or in a swimming pool. Zombies. Dark bodies of water. Claustrophobia, not being able to use my arms in heights. Fear of heights. In my 50s and have never been on a roller coaster. I take a hand towel with me on flights because my palms sweat so bad. If I lived in a berm house, I still wouldn't clean out the gutters. Anyone else out there freaking out about knees as much as me? Can't handle mind being touched, can't handle seeing other people touch their own, can't handle listening to people talk about knee injuries, vomiting face, fear of pregnancy. Everything about it is viscerally repulsive and scary to me. I removed my ability and risk of becoming pregnant years ago. But any and all things related to pregnancy deeply terrify me. Arachnophobia. I don't know the name of the phobia, but it's Venus flytraps. There's a couple of other plants I don't know the name of, but they scare me for some reason. I'm also a bit trypophobic, don't know if it has a name, but when I'm driving I have a fear of heights. If I'm on a hillside, I will hug the lane opposite of the drop-off, even change lanes to get away from falling off the cliff. Trypanophobia, fear of needles under invasive medical procedures. And I'm pretty sure I have glottophobia, the fear of being laughed at. Pretty common in people with social anxiety disorder. When I'm walking alone at street and see 40-years-old man, I'm scared of being kidnapped by him. I'm Eastern European and kidnapping happens really often in my country. I don't know if this has a name, but I'm scared of crawling people. I will cry and would have a hard time breathing if I see someone crawl. Also thalassophobia. The thought of getting trapped in an elevator scares the shit out of me. It hasn't happened to me yet, and I hope it never does. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. Fear of needles is huge for me, to a lesser extent snakes. But that more along the lines of I really don't like snakes more so than I'm terrified of them. Needles, not intramuscular ones, but I freak out with, and for the last time I had to have blood drawn they had to give me a sedative in order to get it.